Hey, what's going on there, folks? Welcome back here to a Sunday. End of the weekend is upon us here. We got Monday right around the corner here, it looks like. June 30th, 2024, about 11:52 a.m. here, California time. Latest activity here on the earthquake 3D globe shows a 1.7 into the area of Oklahoma. Check out that globe. Quite a bit of earthquake activity ramping up here in Hawaii, where we're still seeing a decent earthquake swarm just on the south area here of the summit of Kilauea Volcano. I'm really surprised this has not turned into an eruption overnight. I was expecting it to. Quite a bit of earthquake activity ramping up here. And the USGS putting out a notification about this earthquake swarm here as well. Let's check out the latest updated information here from the USGS. So as of right now, the volcano is not erupting, but a seismic swarm that began back on the 27th beneath the Upper East Rift Zone escalated in intensity last night. There was quite the amount of earthquake activity. Though the earthquake rates has eased slightly this morning, there were no significant changes in ground deformation associated with this escalation of seismicity. But longer-term inflation of the summit and the upper rift zones has persisted since the end of the last eruption there, that minor eruption on the southwest rift zone back in June. So we are still watching it. Looks like there was over 500 earthquakes detected beneath this zone in the past 24 hours. That's quite a bit. I know the USGS only shown 182 on here, so yeah, double that number, and you get that close to that 500 mark there. So big time swarm, no eruption as of yet. So let's check out the deformation data here, see what's going on. This is a good graph to watch in terms of, land rise out here. But we've been going down a little bit. In fact, this most recent event here in the last couple days, along with the swarm, has shown a decline here of inflation across the summit and the East Rift Zone. Notice this downturn here on the graph. We've been going up and up and up since June 3rd. There's a little eruption there for 10 hours that dropped the inflation slightly. But since then, look at that, a steady up. And then we got the stair-stepping ladder event. And now we've reached a level of peak maximum inflation, I feel, out here. We've gone down slightly. But the key to watch is also some of these other tilt meter stations out here, where we did see a nice little rise in tilt on this station right here. Just a couple days ago when the earthquake swarm began. That is a decent amount of displacement there. Up at the summit area, the tilt meter's here. That one's not working. Let's see what else. I don't think it's going to head over this way. If anything, we lost some. Notice that drop right here. There's the drop back in June 3rd. Now we got another drop, meaning that the inflation here, specifically right at this area, is going down, while I feel other areas out here are going up here. It's just moving slowly, but in terms of the highest level of inflation, less likely over here for an eruption, more so across this area. But yeah, this definitely showed a nice little inflation jump here, about the time that we've seen a deflationary event further to the west here on this one. See that drop in the green line? So, goodness, it's just one of those things here where we have to keep an eye on it for sure. The webcams out here, let me see where my webcams went to. I had a whole bunch of them out here. Let me see. Let's bring this up right here. USGS webcams, the East Rift Zone. Little cloudy out there, it looks like. Nothing of eruption status. I can't see anything, that would tell me there's an eruption going on. So things are quiet at the surface levels, but quite active underneath the region. Here's the summit area. Really no difference here. I don't think the summit area is going to be the area for an eruption. I believe we're going to see it there on the upper East Rift Zone, or we could see a huge displacement of magma maybe off to the lower East Rift Zone. Either way, things are... When is this? Yeah, that's today. Early morning out there. Hard to tell with all the trees in the way, but the key to watching this, folks, is the earthquake activity, and it's definitely ramped up here. They said 500 earthquakes in the last 24 hours here in this area. We we are getting a broader array of earthquakes out here across the lower east rift zone. That's something we got to watch as well. This whole area looks actually under strain. So we'll watch the intensity of the earthquake swarming as this continues to evolve, and eventually we'll see, one or two things here. We'll see a magma intrusion off to the east rift zone, or maybe further south here like we had seen at one point. A couple months ago, we've seen a huge amount of magma displacement way off here towards the Helena Slump area and southward. I believe it was heading off towards the Loihi Seamount. But we'll keep an eye on that, right? That's all we can do right now. There's a lot of earthquake activity ramping up. Tilt meter off the chart in certain areas. All right, see what else. Got an earthquake here in the Mariana Trench, it looks like. 5.2, northern Mariana Islands, 600 kilometers deep into that major subduction zone here, the Mariana Trench. Goodness, that is a deep one. So that is going to bring that ring well off the globe there, as you can see. Of course, on the Earthquake 3D globe, the deeper the earthquake below the surface, the higher these rings are raised off the globe. And that is a deep one. So we got some deeper earthquake activity returning to this region around the central area of the Pacific Plate. I shouldn't say central, I should say west area of the Pacific Plate here. So keep an eye on the Filipino Plate. That's this region right here. Got to remember this area receives a lot of strain here from the Pacific Plate. Look at these arrows pointing in the direction of the most recent deep earthquake here. So keep an eye. Further movement potentially across this area, Taiwan, Japan, but also we can see an increasing seismic risk there upstream from this deep earthquake. And most of the time it comes within a few hours or so. That's a pretty deep earthquake and decent size, not a big one, but we should see some surface adjustment take place up here soon across the Mariana Trench, potentially a little bit further up along this area of the Izu Trench as well. Over the last 7 days, we really haven't seen anything here. So we should see something very soon in terms of some adjustment due to that deep earthquake that just took place there in the Mariana Trench. Further out and about, see what we got here for the West Coast, California area. Looks like any other day out there. Hot up here in Northern California. We'll get to the weather here in a little bit, including Hurricane Beryl, now a Category 4. Rapidly intensified here overnight. Earthquake activity, San Jacinto fault zone. Also a little clustering going on here around the San Andreas Fault, north of the Desert Hot Springs. Really nothing a major concern, but still, any activity here in and around the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault needs to be watched. Let's see what we got for 2.5 and above overnight. Geysers look like they're fairly active, 2.8. I can't say the geysers because there's actually no geysers up here, but this is a Clear Lake volcanic field, hydrothermal plants. Low activity here across the Fish Lake Valley Fault. This earthquake coming in, looks like this morning, 2.8. There's the activity in Nevada. It doesn't look like anything stirred up there since then, last night. One earthquake up here on the Macama Fault. It's going to be this lengthy coastal fault zone. Secondary here to the San Andreas Fault, the plate boundary, 2.7. 1 kilometer deep there. Nothing going on here across the Cascadia. Tremor activity last night was still somewhat elevated and hasn't gone down here in over a month, so we're still keeping an eye there on the Cascadia subduction zone. Further out into the Wyoming area, aside from Idaho, I mean, these guys always getting some twos out here. I don't see anything of any major concern. The Sawtooth Fault system here is a very active fault, and it's very common to see ones and twos and even some threes out here on pretty much any given day. Yellowstone National Park, nothing showing up here on the map, but I do want to double check for verification, see what we got. Looks like we got some big time wind coming up here as well. That's going to be the darker lines here. Earthquake activity. There is some here around the Little West Thumb. These are going to be earthquakes right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. That activity did show up here across a couple different seismograph stations. Another earthquake up here in Maple Creek right there. But really no major swarm going on. And this is wind. This dark colored signature is going to be the wind. Pretty easy. I'll show you guys here real quick. If you're ever in question about whether this is wind or earthquake activity, just got to pull up the windy map here and bring in the wind gusts here, because that's what counts in terms of picking up the data there on the seismograph stations. I'm sure we got some locally higher gusts across certain areas where those seismograph stations are positioned. 40-mile-per-hour winds or higher across this area of Yellowstone National Park. All right, Oklahoma, a couple smaller quakes. Texas as well. New Madrid seismic zone has one earthquake here, 2.3. That's from yesterday. Aside from that, let's see what we got on the earthquake 3D globe here. There's so many earthquakes right now triggering in the Hawaii area. Goodness. That is crazy. New Zealand area, some older movement here up along the Kermadec Trench from late last night, it looks like. That looks like mainly some 3s and a couple 4s in there. 5.2 across the Java Trench. We've seen a lot of deep activity. If you look at that most recent one, and then some deeper quakes here around the Philippines. It looks like this quake right here, super deep, 4.4, 527 kilometers deep. So these deeper quakes normally lead to an uptick in seismic activity around the region. So just be on guard there. Australia's seen a couple earthquakes there as well. New Zealand did have a 3-pointer, it looks like, in between North and South Island area. Still watching that region there. Got some adjustment coming, I feel. Mediterranean area, a couple 2s. Iceland got a 3.4 up there. So let's go see what's going on up in Iceland here. Of course, the eruption halted here about, I think it's been about a week ago, right? Across the Svartsengi area down here near Grindavik and the power plant and the Blue Lagoon. That 3-pointer coming in over here across a different volcano area. Nothing, doesn't look like anything big, but a little magnitude there above the microquake level. The Svartsengi area looks quiet in terms of earthquake activity, but let's see what we got here for the inflation across that area. Let's see, where's my Svartsengi area? Down here somewhere. Oh, we can check this one out. This is the 8-hour run times of various stations there across the Svartsengi, actually across Iceland in general. But I'm looking for the Grindavik area, which is right here. And there's our most recent eruption there, right? Lasted for, I think, 24 days. That's the vertical displacement up in Lost a lot of volume of magma. Went down, and now we're coming back up. And more so here in the last couple runs, it looks like getting a little sharp increase in activity there in terms of recharging of the system below the area once again. So we could be looking at a return of a future eruption here soon. We'll have to watch this level pretty closely. See what we got there at the surface levels. Live from Iceland is the site to check out for visual activity, and it doesn't look like we have a visual clear view out there. It looks like some rain around the area. But as far as I know, the eruption has halted. Let's double check and make sure. Right here from the Icelandic Met Office. Let's see what we got. This update was put out 2 days ago, so they're stating that the new magma flows and or eruptions are likely in the coming weeks, and that's due to the Svartsengi land rise. This is translated from Icelandic to English here. The land ice, no. The land rise or inflation in the Svartsengi continues with increasing speed, and that's why I showed you guys that inflation chart there. Last couple runs showing a sharp rise in the inflation, so we're on our way, I think, to another eruption soon, but I don't think we're quite there yet. All right, what else we got here? South America area. I know they've seen that bigger earthquake activity here a few days ago. Things have calmed down here. Still seeing some aftershock activity there in the Peru-Chile Trench southward. But overall, there's a couple key areas to watch here today. The deeper movement regions and, of course, Hawaii area, right? A lot going on there. When the Pacific Plate moves, you can bet things will stir up here across the hot spot. It only makes sense. All right, real quick glance here at the space weather activity. Well, I wish I could say we've seen a Earth-directed CME that's going to spark up some auroras, but we're not looking at that right now. Things look fairly quiet. Yes, there are numerous sunspots out here, peppered with them, in fact, but it's fairly stable. Maybe a little bit of complexity here going on with this sunspot. But man, it's hard to decipher which one is individually named out here. But looks like Kevin's got them set up here. There's a lot of different sunspots. And 3729, I guess, is the one to maybe keep an eye on. It does look like it has advanced a little bit in terms of complexity magnetically within that core. So watch that one. I don't know. I don't think we're expecting too much. So flare threat down, 99% chance. M flare is dropping as well, 30% chance. X flare around 5%. I don't think there's going to be an X flare, but it's up there on the board. No major auroras in the forecast, no major solar storms. And a look at the aurora forecast here for tonight. Well, very minimal at best. All right, let's talk about Hurricane Beryl. Goodness, it is already a Category 4 hurricane. That is crazy. 130 mile per hour wind, so that puts it at a Category 4. Check out this image. I got to show you guys this image of it. Look at that. Rapidly intensifying overnight. Headed off to these islands where there's currently hurricane warnings in effect. That is no joke of a hurricane. In fact, this is the first Category 4 historically in the month of June out here in the Atlantic. So, pinning it, it's, what do we got? That's it. Today's, the last day. It figures it would hit on the last day. Either way, that's quite impressive for a hurricane to stir up like that so quickly, so rapidly. The warnings and cones and whatnot here on the Hurricane Interactive map. This is a hurricane warning in the red. Here's the hurricane warning. Tropical storm watch going to be in the yellow up here. Blue is going to be the tropical storm warning. So the hurricane is expected to follow along this path line as a major hurricane, major hurricane here. And this thing could strengthen up into, hopefully we don't see it, but maybe up to a Category 5. We'll have to watch that pretty closely. Again, it's going over some open waters. It will, looks like, deteriorate here a little bit as we head further into the Caribbean. But it is expected to follow that path. As you can see there on the map, there is the hurricane chart here, the hurricane wind scale. Category 5 is going to be 157 mile per hour or higher, and of course you got the the damage potential, right? It's not good. Let me see where my spaghetti models went to for this hurricane. Go back over here and see what these guys are forecasting. The intensity here of Hurricane Beryl, forecasted hours right here. Wind speed, that's pretty decent right there, right? This is going to stay very strong for a little while. Maybe some models are even amplifying it before it starts to go down. But it does show that there's going to be a little weakening taking place with that hurricane. The spaghetti models, in terms of where this is headed, are pretty much in agreement. There's really not a whole lot here that would divert the hurricane somewhere else, like a low pressure that may pull it off this way, or high pressure that may flatten it and pull it or push it off to the southwest. This is all in agreement in terms of the model track guidance. Heading over to the Mexico area into the Gulf of Mexico. It will weaken, obviously, once it gets in the land, and it sucks in a little bit of that drier air. But in the meantime, it's going to kick up some steam here. It's definitely going to be a pretty strong event. Let's go over to the this map here real quick. I'm going to show you guys. Not that one. Let's see here. I think I want the 850. There we go. So here's Hurricane Beryl right there, Category 4, going over open waters. And as we put that into motion here, excuse me, it does weaken a little bit, right? It's going to be wrapping around a lot of that drier air from the islands. And I don't know if it's going to weaken that much, but it does look like it's going to get shredded apart as it heads into this area. But still, this is a ways out. It could change, but these weather models are showing a weakening of that system after it gets past these islands here and further into the Caribbean area. So that's a good thing that it's going to weaken, and we'll definitely watch that pretty closely because that is a major deal. Definitely a major deal. It looks like Friday 8 a.m. supposed to be landfall here across Mexico, Honduras area, maybe Thursday 8 a.m. But yeah, we got a few days, right, to watch this. Either way, expect an M. That's a major hurricane expected out here in this area. Hurricane warnings, tropical storm warnings, tropical storm watches are in effect here. All right, far as any major asteroids heading this way, well, the next 5 asteroid approaches. See what we got here for June 30th. Got a 92-foot airplane-size asteroid passing us fairly closely there at 1 million miles or more. Really not seeing anything of any major concern here in terms of close approaches for now. Yes, there's some big ones out there, but there's always big asteroids floating out there in space, and it's best they stay away, right? Here's the current day 1 severe weather outlook out here, mainly across the eastern portion, northeast here of the country. We do have a risk here. Is this one working? There we go. Of some tornado potential. 2% that is, across areas of the northeast in the green. Wind and a little bit of hail threats out there today as well. Looks like Montana getting in on some of the severe weather in terms of hail and wind as well. Aside from that, folks, hope everyone has a good day. We'll keep an eye on Hawaii, of course. There's a little earthquake in Mendocino. I wonder if that's that earthquake that just came through. A 2.7. Yeah, that's going to be that 2.7 near Laytonville. That did show up actually quite nicely here on the seismograph station for the Mendocino station. So that's good. That means that station is working properly and it's picking up any earthquake activity that occurs out here. A few bumps here on the San Juan Bautista area. But, yeah, we'll just kind of keep an eye here on the plate tectonics. Hope everyone enjoys the weekend out here. Man, I'm not looking forward to this week coming up. We got temperatures literally above 110 degrees here in Northern California pretty much all week and next weekend here as well. So we got a good 7 days of extreme heat and a good test of the power system out here in California. I don't think it's been a while since we've seen an extended 110 degree period out here. And that's the air temperature, not feels like. That's actually the air temperature out here in Northern California. It's supposed to get a dry north wind, heating things up, really ramping up the fire danger as well. Speaking of fires, let's see what we got here. There's our red flag warning here in effect. A couple little spotty fires out here around Oroville recently, kind of suspicious, getting some weird fires up here in the hills. It looks like they're trying to burn some stuff up there. I don't know what it is exactly, but definitely got a little bit of fire activity going on. No big fires in Northern California for now. That's good. Got a pretty decent fire down here just outside of Fresno up in the mountains here called the Basin Fire. 11,000 acres, 0% containment. There is, quite a bit of burnable fuel up here, heavily forested, a lot of drier undergrowth, I'm sure, as well. 0% containment in this type of setup is not good. So that has, it's got some potential here to turn into a bigger fire than what it is. So hopefully they get this under control pretty quickly. Further down in the Southern Cal, a couple spotty fires out here. And, of course, there's fires all over the place, it looks like. Even in Colorado here, got a decent fire. 1,100 acres, it looks like. All right, folks, I'm out of here. Have yourself a good day. We'll see you guys back out here a little bit later on this evening, unless something major happens. Stay safe out there.